Did Jeffrey Epstein hang himself or did somebody kill him?
Senator, I believe he hung himself in a cell in the Metropolitan Detention Center.
Are you going to release all the information about that?
Senator, we are working through that right now with the Department of Justice.
When do you think you'll have it done, Kash? Mr. Director, worry not. We'll make sure your agency is adequately funded. This judge you arrested in Wisconsin, she was breaking federal law, wasn't she?
Yes, that's why we arrested her.
She was helping an illegal immigrant escape being taken into custody. Is that right?
Yes, and the field agents decided to open the case, work the case.
And as Americans, do we get to pick and choose which laws we want to follow?
We do not.
If you're a state court judge, do you get to decide you don't want to follow federal law?
No.
And if you violate federal law, you get arrested, don't you?
Yes, Senator.
That's called equal treatment under the law, isn't it?
Yes, Senator.
You remember Lisa Page and Peter Strzok, don't you?
Yes, Senator.
Mr. Strzok worked for the FBI. Mr. Strzok worked for the FBI. I think Ms. Page worked for Justice. The Inspector General found in its investigation that they hated President Trump and they really wanted Secretary Clinton to win. Is that true?
That's correct, sir.
And this would be the same same Ms. Page who sent an email to Mr. Strzok with whom she was having an affair. Trump's not ever going to become president, right? Right? And Mr. Strzok with the FBI, senior official at the FBI replied, quote, no, he won't. We'll stop it. Did I read that correctly?
You did, Senator.
Okay. Now, Ms. Page got quit before she could get fired. Mr. Strzok was fired. And predictably, they filed a lawsuit because in Washington, it's easier to divorce your spouse than it is to fire a federal employee. Why did the FBI give Mr. Strzok $1.2 million and Ms. Page $800,000 to settle a lawsuit?
Senator, I do not know that settlement was reached in the prior administration.
Who made the decision?
The prior Department of Justice.
Who in the prior Department of Justice?
The settlement for that kind of case can only come from the Attorney General, which would be Attorney General Merrick Garland.
So the Attorney General decided to give Mr. Strzok $1.2 million and Ms. Page $800,000 after they were fired after actively interfering in the 2016 election. Is that right?
My understanding is that was a settlement they agreed to.
Pass me the sick bucket, please. The Hunter Biden laptop. In October of 2016, shortly before the election, the New York Post wrote a story that was widely covered talking about Mr. Hunter Biden's influence peddling scheme based on his laptop. A couple of weeks later, Secretary of State, soon to be Secretary of State, Antony Blinken, organized a group of 51 so-called intelligence experts. Had some real rock stars on the list. Jim Clapper, John Brennan, Michael Hayden, Leon Panetta, and they said, oh, no, the story in the New York Post is not true. It's based on Russian disinformation. You remember that?
I do, Senator, as the lead investigator for Russiagate for the House Intel Committee.
Yeah. The FBI had the laptop for 10 months, hadn't they?
They did, Senator.
So the FBI knew right before the election that it wasn't Russian disinformation, didn't they?
And that was confirmed by the Inspector General's report.
Yeah. Who at the FBI refused to let the FBI tell the American people the truth?
I don't have that name in front of me, sir.
Well, would you look?
I will, sir.
I'd like to know. I'd like a name, not a division. I'd like the name. Person with a brain and a beating heart.
Yes, sir.
Did Jeffrey Epstein hang himself or did somebody kill him?
Senator, I believe he hung himself in a cell in the Metropolitan Detention Center.
Are you going to release all the information about that?
Senator, we are working through that right now with the Department of Justice.
When do you think you'll have it done, Kash?
I think in the near future, sir.
Like before I die?
Senator, we've been working on that, and we're doing it in a way that protects victims and also doesn't put out into the ether information that is irrelevant for production of the public, such as CSAM.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Reid.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Director. As you're well aware, DOJ.
At today's Senate Appropriations Committee hearing, Senator John Kennedy, Republican Louisiana, grilled FBI Director Kash Patel on a series of politically charged topics, moving from the arrest of a state judge in Wisconsin to Hunter Biden's laptop and finally to the death of Jeffrey Epstein. The questioning was pointed, often sarcastic, and left little doubt about Kennedy's frustrations with the way the FBI and Department of Justice have handled controversial cases in recent years. Kennedy began with the recent arrest of a Wisconsin judge accused of helping an undocumented immigrant avoid being taken into custody. He pressed Patel on whether ordinary Americans, or even state judges, had the right to selectively follow federal law. As Americans, do we get to pick and choose which laws we want to follow? Kennedy asked. Patel replied that they do not. Kennedy continued, asking if a state court judge could decide to ignore federal law, to which Patel again said no. And if you violate federal law, you get arrested, don't you? Kennedy pushed. Yes, sir, Patel answered. Kennedy then concluded that this was equal treatment under the law. From there, Kennedy pivoted to the well-known controversy involving former FBI official Peter Strzok and former Justice Department lawyer Lisa Page. He reminded Patel that the pair exchanged text messages during the 2016 election showing bias against Donald Trump and support for Hillary Clinton. Kennedy read aloud one of the infamous exchanges in which Page wrote, "Trump's not ever going to become president," and Strzok replied, No, he won't. We'll stop it." Kennedy noted that Page resigned before she could be fired while Strzok was terminated, but both later sued. He attacked the prior administration's Justice Department for agreeing to large settlement payouts, $1.2 million to Strzok and $800,000 to Page. Why did the FBI give them that kind of money? Kennedy asked. Patel responded that the decision came from the previous DOJ leadership. Kennedy then delivered one of his signature barbs. In Washington, it's easier to divorce your spouse than it is to fire a federal employee. He added, "Pass me the sick bucket, please," blasting the settlements as absurd. Kennedy next turned to the Hunter Biden laptop story, which broke in October 2020 when the New York Post published articles about alleged influence peddling. He emphasized that the FBI had the laptop for nearly 10 months before the election, yet when the story came out, a group of 51 former intelligence officials, organized by then-future Secretary of State Antony Blinken, signed a letter claiming it was Russian disinformation. Kennedy rattled off the names of signatories, including James Clapper, John Brennan, Michael Hayden, and Leon Panetta, mocking the letter as an orchestrated attempt to discredit the reporting. The FBI knew right before the election that it wasn't Russian disinformation, didn't they? Kennedy asked. Patel confirmed that the Inspector General's report showed the FBI already knew the laptop was real. Kennedy pressed harder. Who at the FBI refused to let the FBI tell the American people the truth? Patel said he didn't have a name in front of him but would look into it. Kennedy, clearly unsatisfied, demanded, "I'd like a name. Not a division. A person with a brain and a beating heart." The final exchange centered on the lingering mystery of Jeffrey Epstein's death. Kennedy bluntly asked, "Did Jeffrey Epstein hang himself or did somebody kill him?" Patel responded that Epstein had hanged himself in his cell at the Metropolitan Detention Center. Kennedy followed up by asking if all the information about Epstein's death would be released. Patel said the FBI and DOJ were working on it and would release what they could while protecting victims and keeping sensitive, irrelevant material, such as child sexual abuse material, out of the public domain. Kennedy pressed for a timeline, asking if the information would be released before I die. Patel attempted to reassure him, saying they were working to release it in the near future. The hearing showcased Kennedy's trademark mix of sarcasm and sharp questioning, but it also underscored serious ongoing disputes over how the FBI handles politically sensitive investigations. His questions touched on core themes of accountability, transparency, and whether the American public can trust the nation's top law enforcement agency to treat all cases, political or not, equally.